Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to BD Views News Hour. I am Mursaleen Siddiqui. The streets of Dhaka are full again. You see the students, the slogans, and the police lines. It looks like a typical protest, but the anger is directed at something bigger than a local policy. It's directed at a neighbor. Across South Asia, from the beaches of the Maldives to the mountains of Nepal, a phrase is echoing, India out. But why? Why does the world's most populous democracy find itself increasingly unwanted in its own backyard? Today we analyze the burden of nearness and why India's behavior is pushing its neighbors away. For a country like Bangladesh, India isn't just a neighbor. It's a condition of life. It's in the rivers that suddenly run dry. It's in the fuel queues that stretch for miles. It's in the borders where civilians are shot. When India moves, the region feels the vibration. But lately, that vibration feels like a shove. The India Out movement isn't just a political slogan, it's a reflex. It's what happens when a small country feels like its destiny is being decided in a boardroom in New Delhi, not in its own capital. In Bangladesh, the grievance started with water. The Farakka barrage wasn't just a dam, it was a message. It showed that India could control the lifeblood of Bangladesh without ever crossing the border. Then there is the border itself. India's Border Security Force, BSF, has a reputation for casual exercise of power. When a civilian is shot tending cattle, it's a tragedy. When it happens repeatedly, it becomes a symbol of Indian indifference. India acts as an upstream force, decisive, unseen, and often uncaring about the fragility of those living downstream. In the Maldives, things took a modern turn. India Out became a digital brand. It didn't start with blood, it started with images. Photos of Indian military uniforms and helicopters circulated online. The message was simple. Are we truly sovereign if India is always watching? India's mistake here was its inability to see how its assistance looked like occupation to the local eye. Nepal's relationship with India is even more intimate, which makes it more volatile. In 1989, a trade blockade. In 2015, another blockade during a fuel crisis. For a landlocked nation, these weren't just policy disputes, they were humiliations. India taught Nepal a hard lesson. We control your lifelines. The result? In 2000, a mere rumor that an Indian film star insulted Nepal led to riots and deaths. When a neighbor is too big and too loud, even a whisper can start a fire. Sri Lanka remembers the 1980s when Indian intervention led to a bloody insurgency and thousands of deaths. Today, the fear has shifted. It's no longer about soldiers. It's about economic absorption. Sri Lankans look at their ports, their oil tanks, and their energy grids and see Indian companies moving in. The fear is that India is no longer a partner, but a landlord. Why is this happening now? Much of the blame lies with Indian media and domestic politics. Indian news channels often portray South Asian neighbors as disturbed or ungrateful. This commentary travels instantly across borders. When a Bangladeshi sees an Indian anchor mocking their domestic struggle, the resentment deepens. To win votes at home, Indian politicians have to look tough. They project strength to their domestic audience. But that same toughness looks like bullying to Nepal or Bangladesh. India is caught in a trap of its own making. It wants to be a global leader, but it cannot lead its own neighbors without making them feel small. India often claims its intentions are good. It provides aid, vaccines, and infrastructure. But in diplomacy, perception is reality. If India's presence is structural and unavoidable, it becomes the easy target for local failure. Inflation? Responsible is Indian trade. Political unrest? Mostly for Indian interference. Water scarcity, misusing of Indian dams. India has failed to realize that power shouldn't always be a spectacle. When you announce your power constantly, you invite resistance. Can this shadow be lifted? India Out isn't going away because India isn't going anywhere. The rivers will still flow south. The fences will still stand. The real tragedy is that India's quiet diplomacy, the kind that actually works, is being drowned out by its own loud, polarized internal politics. India is performing for an internal audience, while the theater next door is burning down. For the region to find peace, India needs to learn the art of restraint. It needs to be a neighbor, not a ruler. Until India stops treating South Asia as its backyard and starts treating it as a neighborhood of equals, the India out banners will keep flying. The streets may empty for now, but the feeling remains. And in South Asia, feelings have a habit of turning into history.